Hey there everyone, Hitesh here, and welcome to the series on mongoDB. Now we're going to move forward and we are going to talk about two main topics of the database. The first is database modeling and then the relations. And of course, we are going to talk about one-on-one relations and whole other stuff as well, but in the later on videos. Right now, the point of focus is database modeling or modeling of database. Now, if I'm creating a series on mongoDB or given a fact on any other database, I need to talk a little bit about modeling of database. Now, definitely we can put up a whole lot separate course on database modeling itself because it's a very in-depth subject and it requires a whole lot of discussion. But still, I wanted to cover this subject a little bit. Would like to recommend you a book so that in case you want to explore this subject more, you definitely can go ahead and do that. So let's talk about what is this database modeling. Now, first and foremost, the thing that you should know and understand about database modeling is it is irrelevant of what kind of database you are using. Now, surely some books focus mainly on MySQL or maybe Cassandra or maybe Postgres. It really doesn't really matter what kind of database you are actually using. It's moreover a fundamental concept of how well you are able to understand your current data and what data is about to come in the future as well. It has nothing to do with the database. All the techniques that you can learn in any book or whatever the resource you want to use, you can apply that same knowledge into any given database. So let's go ahead and first talk about database modeling is a concept of preparing your tables. Whenever we design any application, usually in the tutorials or a simple course, we just focus on creating 3-4 tables. But if you're creating a full-fledged startup or maybe a complete application, which is going to serve thousands and thousands of users, a good amount of time is given on what kind of table should I create, what kind of object should I create, what kind of data type should I mention in that object. It's not like a user comes up next day and says, hey, you know what, we need to just store mobile phones as well, or maybe secondary mobile phones as well. It creates a whole lot of mess when at the last moment you introduces some more variables into the database. It's not a good ideal thing. So first and foremost, it's very important that you understand what kind of data you are dealing up with, that what kind of questions you need to ask. And here comes the big situation, that what kind of questions when you ask can help you to understand what kind of tables I should create or what kind of object should I create. Now again, we are working on the MongoDB, which is known for its flexibility, which is really good, but you are never going to be seeing the implementation of MongoDB, which is like going on totally irrational. It doesn't really rarely happen. SQL is a word, simply MySQL is a database which is very strict. MongoDB is very flexible. So we try to just combine both of them and try to use the best of both worlds. That's why the MongoDB is becoming much more favorite. So let's go ahead and talk about what kind of question you should be asking yourself while having a modeling of the database. So first and foremost is, of course, what are predefined data sets? Whenever you are going to create an application which is database centric, of course, you should be aware of what is the data set that I require. Probably a username, an email, if you're storing that, your passwords, and what kind of, maybe you're asking for date of birth, maybe college, university. So these kinds of data sets are pretty obvious that are going to come up. Let's say I'm creating an account on YouTube. The pretty obvious ones are I'm going to upload a video. Video is going to have a name, then some description, then some tags. And of course, the video file itself, I'm going to be having a username. I'm going to be having a unique URL. So all these things need to be taken up care in advance. So these are the first question you might want to ask. What are the predefined data set? The second one is generated database. And it might sound a little bit vague and not accurate, but what I really wanted to convey with this line is sometimes these things do happen, that some stats or some datas are generated on the go. For example, how many viewers are watching my videos and how many people are stop watching my video at a given specific point of time. So these sets actually come over the time. They are not generated on the go. They come up later on, probably a fitness tracker, a video profile, analytics on video. A lot of website does that. So these kinds of things actually come up later on. So what kind of data you want to fetch upon later on, that's also a question. And it's really complex, this question one is. And the third one is, where will you need this data? Now we have talked in the first two questions about what kind of all the data sets we will be getting. Now the question that you need to ask is, once I do have these data sets, where I'm going to use these data sets, whether it's going to be a mobile app, whether it's going to be a web app, or is it going to be in the home page, about page, user's profile? And this is a really crucial and important question, because you want to keep your data set in such a way that whenever a user makes or your developer makes a query to the database, he's able to fetch all things easily. And that's really not an easy thing to do. And how much filter is there per query? Because let's just say a user is displaying some information, some stats from YouTube. So on each page, there is going to be different stat. Like for example, on one page, he's going to display what kind of age profile you're having, like 18 to 24. Or on another page, he wants to display the demographics. On another page, he wants to simply say geographic locations from where users are watching the video. So when a developer is firing a query onto your database, how much filtering he needs to do? Based on that, you should be saving all of your data into different kind of documents so that it's a less query, because queries are expensive in the database world. Whether that's AWS or Heroku, whatever that is, it might get expensive. Another one is how many queries are being fired. Filter is definitely one thing, but we also need to take care about how many queries a user is firing. Probably on every page, if he's firing like 5 or 6 queries, that is not at all an optimized solution. It's going to generate thousands and thousands of dollar bill. So maybe we want to keep our database modeling in such a way that the user don't need to fire that much of the queries in question. So again, and the last one is how often will you change the data? That's a big question. Like some of the video providing services do even allow you to upload a video, a URL is being generated, and then you can re-upload the same video or edit the video and allow that, and still the URL is going to remain same. So there is a whole lot of things you can do that when you are ready to change the data, when you are not ready to change that data. And again, this database modeling, as I mentioned, can be a course itself, but still, since we are talking about this, that means I really wanted to touch this subject a little bit. My more focus is on handling the relation part of the database. Like I want to discuss and give you more examples, practical one, onto one-on-one relation, one-to-many, and all these relation, which definitely we are going to talk about in the later on videos. But this is definitely something you might want to read a little bit more in case you are totally interested about making your career field as in the database itself. But again, I would like to just provide you one resource of the book. Definitely, there are so many books. Feel free to pick up any one. I happened to read this like a little bit while ago. I didn't read the third edition a little bit while, but since the newer one is available in the market, I thought let's recommend the newer one. With the full disclosure, I didn't read the third edition. I read probably the second edition. I'm not pretty sure, but yes, I read this book. Pretty amazing, from the same author. And definitely this book is moreover centric toward the SQL database. But as I mentioned, the questions are same, the knowledge is same. And again, I would still recommend you a couple of chapters here that I think you might want to take a look. Again, the first couple of chapters are, again, as I mentioned, this book is heavily oriented towards the relational database, but the same questions always need to be answered, whether that's a relational database or whether that's something like NoSQL or any other. So the design objective, the chapter 2, is something which is not much dependent, and you really want to check out this chapter as well. And apart from this, the design process is also this good chapter. And apart from that, the rest of the stuff is moreover SQL centric, so you might want to skip that, all of this analyzing the current database and all of that. So this is all like moreover SQL, but those two chapters are pretty specific and pretty amazing, so you really might want to check out in case you want to get that. Again, in case you do have any book or something that you have read recently which is more centric toward NoSQL, please let me know. I would love to mention that to my audience as well. So that's it. We have talked a little bit on database modeling. Not enough, of course, I do agree, but I think that's enough to let us move forward. Now, in the next video, we're going to talk about relations, and we're going to see some of the practical examples to understand how the relations work in any kind of database, and especially we'll be focusing centric on to MongoDB. So that's it for this video, and let's catch up in the next one.